Public transport in France has now been on strike for a month as the country's unions protest against President Emmanuel Macron's plans to reform the pension system. The French Prime Minister will hold fresh talks with unions from Tuesday, but with neither side willing to back down, there seems to be no end in sight. CGTN's Elena Casas reports from Paris.
It's now the longest strike in France for more than half a century. Railway unions walked out on December the 5th, and they say they're not going back to work unless President Macron abandons his pension reform plans completely. Only about 35,000 people actually are on strike, 7% of railway staff, but that's been enough to grind the railway network and the Paris metro to a near total halt. The unions refused government demands for a Christmas truce. Now they say they're starting the new year with fresh determination.
We're not striking for fun. Most of our members support us going even further from Monday because the president has angered everyone. He won't listen to anything, so our call is getting louder and louder across the whole union movement.
The government is hoping it can drive a wedge between those unions who are opposed to all pension reform and those who accept the idea in principle but not the policy detail. It's already offered a concession, pushing back the planned start date of the new system, but the unions haven't budged. This is about much more than pensions now. For the unions, backing down would signal the beginning of the end of their political influence. For President Macron, it's a question of credibility. He wants to show he can succeed where the last 3 presidents failed in their attempts to reform the system. Polls show 2/3 of French voters do accept some reform to the system, which currently has 42 different sets of rules for different professions, is necessary. But a similar proportion don't trust President Macron to carry it out fairly.
People feel that behind this reform there's a plan to defraud the French, as some analysts put it. A plan to reduce people's pension entitlements in general, rather than a balanced reform of the system.
Refinery workers plan to join the strike next week, aiming to blockade refineries across the country and cause a petrol shortage. But even if France starts to run out of fuel, both the unions and the president have too much at stake now to back down. Elena Casas, CGTN, Paris.